Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy Uncle Ben, and I'm here to tell you guys the legend of the Friedman BE, the finest amp in this multiverse and the next. You see guys, back many moons ago, whenever David Friedman was starting to build amps and start his own Friedman amp company, he consulted the powers of a local witch that was living in a bog to see into his future, read the signs of the moons and stars, and find out which direction he should lead his company into and what would be the amp that would lead him to greatness. The witch did some scrying, she read the signs, she rolled the bones, and what she came up with is a vision that one day a guitarist would emerge from the homeschool hills of East Tennessee, a handsome, dashing, chestnut-haired man that would require the finest amp that has ever been designed. Dave Friedman was intrigued. He said, "Tell me more, witch." And she said, he will need a large, burly 100-watt amp to play live rock and roll shows. But also he'll need a little tiny, adorable amp head to play on the couch while consuming a smooth muscle relaxant known as alcohol. And David said, "Who is this hero that shall emerge from the lands?" And try as though the witch could, all she could find is that his initials would be B.E. So whenever David designed the incredible Friedman BE100, that is why he titled it so, not knowing that the BE would stand for my very initials, Ben Eller. Yes, that's right, it's me. I'm the one the witch foretold of, and why David Friedman built this incredible amp that I am so in love with, and its cute, adorable little mini-me package that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so here's the deal. Earlier this year, I got my first Friedman amp. I got a Friedman BE100, and as soon as I turned it on, I was turned on myself, you know what I mean? I was just like, this is the tone that I've been looking for forever. It's got that Van Halen 1 hot British, modified, overdriven sound that just drives me wild. Makes my big toe shoot up in my boot, as they say. And I'm out here at beautiful Sweetwater Studios right now, and they happen to have the more deluxe, more bigger, more badder, more better version of my amp that I use to gig with at home. This is the Friedman BE100 Deluxe. The difference being, it's got like individual controls for all the channels, whereas on my regular BE100 that I have at home, it's like shared EQ for everything. Now we've also got this little dude right here, the Friedman BE Mini, which I had not tried until recently, whenever myself and Ryan Bruce, aka Fluff, were making our cheapest versus most expensive rigs. You can watch that video over on his channel. And after we tried it out and I was completely blown away, I was like, I would love to hear this thing side by side compared with Big Brother right here, right? And hear what the differences are, and also just show you guys why I love this amp so doggone much. Seriously, it's just the best. So on today's video, we've got these two heads that are plugged into this Mesa stereo cab. So I've got the big boy here coming through half of the cab, and I've got a radial switcher down here that lets me switch to the other side of the cab, which is running the little guy over here. It's amazing how great they both sound. Like this right here to me is an ideal like main amp, backup amp scenario, you know, just in case a tube blows or something like that. You can just switch to this little bulletproof solid state guy, keep on rocking because it also sounds awesome and it also weighs like nothing. It's also just adorable seeing this little guy on top of this big, huge speaker cabinet. You guys have heard of Chris Farley's Fat Man in a Little Coat. This is Fat Cab with a little head, and it delights me, and it's just adorable. I'm going to show you guys a little back and forth between these things. A little heads up about the setup that we're using on these today with the big guy here. I'm using a big delay, a Strymon Timeline, which is incredible and fantastic. Best delay money can buy, in my opinion. And for the little guy in the effects loop, I've got, just a little guy delay. I've got the TC Flashback 2 Mini, which is another great delay pedal. I gig with this thing all the time. So I've got those two guys running the effects loops, and we're just going to play some stuff and go back and forth between the two heads so you can compare and contrast and see which one you like, and also hear just how mighty the Mini is. So let's check these things out. Let's start off here by hearing the big guy in action. It's got that sizzle, it's got that bristling top end that I always loved hearing on those early Van Halen records and stuff, but it's just got more gain, more saturation. It's like compressed in just the way that I want it to be. Makes it like really fun and easy to play on. Let's compare that guy to the little dude over here on the other side of the cab and see what that sounds like. So there's a lot of shared DNA there, right? Again, it's got that modified British thing going on, just in a much cuter little package. But it still sounds huge. Like, I know it's kind of hard to tell on a YouTube video that you're probably watching on your phone, but this thing is like raging loud right now. It's actually kind of blowing me out sitting next to the cab. It's loud. I'll put it to you this way. Usually whenever I gig with my BE100 at home, I have it set to where coming off the deck, it's around 90 to like 93 dB, something like that. That way it's not killing the crowd, but still sounding good and feels good on stage, right? I had the volume on the Mini here up to about 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. It was coming off deck at 100 dB, 100. And this is like a little tiny solid state Class D head. It is more than loud enough to gig with, especially coming through a 4x12. Although technically, it's just coming through a 212 right now, since it's just half of the cabinet. Wow, okay, yeah, so this guy in a 212 will put out way more than 100 dB. That's kind of scary. Okay, let's do those two heads back to back again. I'm just gonna kind of cycle through them here, playing some classic Van Halen or something for you. We're gonna start with the big guy and then go to the little guy a couple times through here. It's gonna be pretty obvious which amp is which and when I'm making this, the change between them. But I'll put little things on screen too so you guys can follow along if you're playing the home game. I think the little guy has less low end overall. There's a lot less wattage and stuff going on right there. You could probably push the bass up a little higher. I've got the bass on the Mini head there set at about 2 o'clock or so right now. So you could probably push it a little bit more if you wanted to and get a bassier sound. Live though, I probably wouldn't. You know, tons of low end is kind of the enemy of a good live heavy sound, so I probably wouldn't push it more than it is right now. The big guy is moving more air, as you would guess. Again, it's got more low end naturally and just more force coming out of the speakers. Even though the dB is about the same right now on paper, the way that 100 tube watts moves speakers it's just different. I'm not even gonna say better or worse, it's just different. But this little dude is more than cutting the mustard. Let's noodle around a little bit more and hear some more comparisons of these amps. So I will say right there, you can really hear the difference between the way that tube power cleans up as you roll the volume knob down versus solid state power. This guy, at least from my vantage point of sitting right here in front of the cab, this guy cleans up a little bit more. It's just a little bit more dynamic, which you'd expect of any tube amp, right? It's always going to be a little bit more touch sensitive, volume knob sensitive, even pickup sensitive than solid state. That's just the nature of the beast, you know? But as you can hear, that little guy still cleans up pretty dang good, man. It's not bad at all, especially if you're not running the gain like crazy. Right now I have the gain on the little head at, it's almost 9 o'clock, so it's pretty high. But you can hear it's still getting a decent clean tone. Well, you know, rock and roll clean, right? Clean-ish if you roll that volume and stuff down. I'm really seriously just blown away by this guy. It even has an effects loop. Come on, that's awesome. I think that this is gonna become like my new little backup amp. This is gonna be my new setup, is to have a sit cabinet, my Friedman BE100, and the little Friedman Eller Mini being powered by Eller Life Size. That's the setup of the gods. The setup that the witch foretold us of in her portents to a young David Friedman. Thank you so much for listening to that BOG Witch and this story that I have completely fabricated, David. And thanks for making my amp. I've been Uncle Ben. You guys have been fantastic.